Hey, I hope everyone's doing well. I thought I'd do just a quick video today on some of the gear I use to film. That seems to be the biggest question I get from people is what are you using to film on your bike? I'm not a professional YouTuber at all. I'm just a guy with a bike that decided to make some videos because the bicycle was unique in the United States and started throwing some content out there. And then you guys have been great asking me questions about it. So I thought I'd go over just a couple things that I use, and maybe it helps somebody out. For some of the things that I have, I'll put a link in the description below where to buy these. Most of it all came from Amazon, but let's get into it. The first thing I started out with, and if you watch one of my first videos, I think it's a Stromer ST7 Speed Check is the video name. I used my iPhone, and this is a great device. This one happens to be the 15 Pro. The one I used prior was the 14 Pro, and I just bolted it onto the handlebars. I didn't like that as much, and really for the reason that I just didn't feel that it was secure. It takes great stable video, and you can go back and watch that video and see for yourself. The video on it is really good. The problem is that I didn't feel comfortable with the iPhone sticking out there and potentially falling and breaking the phone. So that was one of the main reasons why I stopped filming with the iPhone. The next thing I got was a GoPro. I happened to see this at Costco. This is a GoPro Hero 11 Black, and right now it's attached to a snap mount, which we'll talk about in a second. But this is a good little camera. It's really small, and I started using that so that the POV shots that you get where you could see the handlebars and you can see the screen, this is the camera I use for that. This is a great camera in the daylight. The image quality is really sharp. There are some drawbacks to it. One is wind noise, and I think that's just with any camera that you're on a bike with going fast. I did buy a wind slayer device, which is a piece of foam that fits on the top of this, and that really cuts down the wind pretty well, actually. And it's a great device. The problem I have with this camera is it does overheat, and especially in the summer or anything above 75 degrees. And I live in Las Vegas, and so I can get this camera to overheat pretty quick. The way I film is I just turn the camera on and I ride, and then when I come back, I'll edit to whatever the best parts are. But I have had this camera overheat probably after about 15 or 20 minutes, shorter in the summertime, or if I'm riding where the sun is beating down on it. This camera is notorious for doing that for me. I've taken it out in the winter and spring, and it doesn't seem to do that. I did get it to overheat faster with the wind slayer on there because it's just a big foam jacket that goes around it. There's just probably less airflow. A couple things that frustrate me about this camera. First, aside from the overheating, when you are previewing your video on the phone, as soon as you click record, you can no longer see the video. I think that's just dumb. Insta360 has been able to do it. DJI, which I'm filming on right now, the Osmo, I'm using that as a monitor right now so I can see myself as I record this video. But the Hero 11 doesn't allow you to do that. Now, the Hero 12 allows you to do it, but the 11 just doesn't let you to do it. And I guess older GoPros allow you to do it, but for whatever reason, I think the 10 and 11 don't. I just think that's really dumb because you're constantly moving around, and I'm constantly adjusting the camera to try to find the best angle or best shot, but you can't see the video as you're riding or if you need to make minor adjustments to it, especially as you change positions on the bike or you change positions in the seat. You're tweaking the angle a little bit here and there, and you can't see what you're doing. So there's a whole lot of faith involved in getting video out of this. The other thing is just the editing process itself. The app, the quick app from GoPro, I just don't care for it as much. And so for that reason, I think this probably isn't the best camera. What I do like about it, and I'll give you a positive, aside from just the sharp video and the video quality you get out of the camera when you're using it in good light, is this one here has the GPS built into it. I guess the GoPro 12 doesn't have that. And for me, because I like the overlays on it, I wouldn't upgrade to the 12. Now, one of the things that does intrigue me about an action cam is the new Insta360 Ace Pro. I've been watching a lot of videos on that. There is the ability to get the data overlay on there. It has better low light performance. And so far, no one's complained about the overheating. So I think that might be a worthy upgrade to this, or if you haven't bought an action cam yet, you might want to take a look at that. The other thing is the Insta360 app, in my opinion, is insanely easy. It's really thought out. It's really intuitive. And I think to be in a singular ecosystem probably has a lot of benefits to it as well. When you're editing video, you can just download everything right to your phone, and the mobile app editing on it is almost better than the desktop app, in my opinion, unless you're going to move it around to other applications. So anyway, that's the GoPro. Now, what I used to mount the GoPro, I had many different handlebar mounts, and these work pretty well if you want to mount it on the handlebar. And the GoPro is light enough where it just sits on top, and there's all kinds of different GoPro attachments for it. I even have a quarter 20 attachment at the bottom of mine. But these clamps work really well. The GoPro clamp is all plastic. It works okay. This is a Ulanzi clamp, and this one seems to be all metal. It works really good. It has a ball head on it as well, so you can adjust the angle of where the camera is in relationship to how you have this mounted on your bike. And I think this is a really good option. But unless you want that just handlebar shot out into the road, what I found was that wasn't very interesting. And then the other thing is as you turn the bars around, the image twisted around as well. This is the Telesin neck mount. It's all made out of silicone. And this is really cool because unlike a chest mount where you got to put all this gear on and then strap the GoPro to it, I'm not doing any kind of mountain biking. I'm not doing jumps, and I'm not falling down trails. I don't need something that aggressive. This is a very simple design. It just fits around your neck. You clip it on, and that's probably the weakest part of this is this little clip here sucks. If you can see it, you can get it lined up in there and it clips in nice. But when you have it around your neck, you're just doing it by feel, and 9 times out of 10, it looks like it's going to work now because I'm on camera, but 9 times out of 10, you're just fiddling with it for a good minute or so before it latches in. And once it's in there, it's stuck in there. You can hear it click. It's not going anywhere, and it's really secure. So this is great. It's really comfortable depending on your ride or how you're riding. See, I can't get the thing in there. But depending on how you're riding, it may flap around a little bit up and down, but if it does that, just bend it into shape. And you can bend it in a way where it's not going to flap as much as press it against your body. And especially when you're leaning over the handlebars, make sure it gets adjusted and it's more tight around your neck. And it'll eliminate a lot of that flap. But for the most part, this is what I would use for some of the POV shots. The snap mounts are great because instead of fiddling with the GoPro screw on here, you just clip that in there and it's done. And these are really strong. This isn't going anywhere. You could shake this all around and it's not going to go anywhere. And then to get it off, there's really strong magnets. Just give it a little twist and it comes right off. And then you can change the snapping around from, if you want the camera upside down, you can do it that way, depending on your angle. And then you put it anywhere you want. And then if you have another mounting plate to, let's say the Ulanzi adapter, for example, you just pop it on there. So as you're riding and you want different views, you can just slap it on. So what's the camera that I use the most? The camera I use the most is the Insta360 X3. I saw a bunch of reviews on this. I was never a big fan of the 360 cameras because I think the videos that I've seen with them in the past is you see this big giant fisheye thing and people do that small world thing and it just looked weird to me and I wasn't a big fan. And then I happened to watch more videos on it and the more intrigued I got and I ended up buying one. And I think this is probably one of the best devices that you can get. If you had to pick just one, I would start with this. This is the Swiss Army knife camera. The great thing I like about it is the shots that you get with it are completely unique. I will show you in a second how I mount this thing on my bike, and I'll put some shots in there of me as well using this camera. But this is really a hassle-free, worry-free, turn it on and forget about it kind of camera, because whatever it sees, you can grab later. So you could stick this thing on the selfie stick, and I have a cover on it now, but you can put this thing out there, and it doesn't matter where you put it. You could hold it any way you want, and you're going to get an image that you want to get out of it later. They say it's a shoot first, point later camera, and I think that's true, because other than what angle you want to get out of it. So if you want a high angle or a low angle, this is really brainless as far as getting really good shots out of it. The cool thing is, as I have this thing sticking out of my handlebars straight on, I can get, images of the tire. I can get images of the road in front of me. I can get images of me, all without moving the camera at all. And so I think, to me, that's a really good benefit. It also has the ability to get GPS overlays on it as well. You could use this as an action camera, so there's single lens mode as well, and you could put that. They sell a little cage for it. I could put that on a snap mount and mount it to this if I wanted to, or mount it anywhere on my bike with any one of these clamps. And you don't even have to use the selfie stick. Now I have a magnetic attachment on here. It just makes it easier to switch selfie sticks or switch mounts with it. And I just leave this on the selfie stick and I leave this on the bottom of the camera, and I can move this thing anywhere. But to me, this is the best camera probably out there. Now, a couple things I don't like about it. I wish it's shot in better resolution. So it does shoot in 5K, 30 frames. I wish it went to 60. But the problem is, it's not a problem, but the issue is that it's shooting that 5K video in 360. So the whole video is 5K. And then depending on what you're shooting or depending on what you're looking at, you're only going to get 2.5K, 2.5K image. Now, we'll upscale to 4K once you export it, but the image itself is not a true 4K image. So the video quality out of it, to me, it's great. And I'll put some images on there, but it's a little muddy. And maybe it's because of some of the motion blur that you get out of it when you're riding, but it's just not as sharp as, let's say, the GoPro, which is shooting in 4K and then just straight ahead. So you don't have to worry about sharing that image quality between two lenses. But that's really the only gripe that I have on this. I have not got it to overheat. I could use it in the summer. It's waterproof. So if I wanted to ride out in the rain, which I don't, there's no problem with it whatsoever. I'm really looking forward to the next one that comes out because I think it's only going to get better, especially using maybe some of the technology they put in the Ace Pro. Hopefully it finds its way to this thing as far as the image quality and low light performance. This thing really doesn't shoot well in low light, but to me, this is the camera that I use the most. Now, that being said, I have this sticking out of the front of my bike. You have to put this on a selfie stick. And so I bought a couple different selfie sticks. The ones I started to use were the aluminum ones that you buy, and that created a problem. The problem was, going back to this Ulanzi grip, is that those two things. One, I don't think it's the grip's fault. I think it's just where I have it mounted. On the bike that I have, on the Stromer bike that I have, the handlebars taper from 44 millimeters down to 34 millimeters, and it's in a awkward shape. So the problem is that if you bolt this thing on and you have to have the selfie stick out in front of you, the problem is that this becomes heavy, and the farther you stick the pull out, the more force is down on this clamp, and it starts to move and slip. And that became a problem that I had to solve. And so the way I solved that was to get a bigger clamp. The best 360 clamp, this is a giant clamp, and it's got a big giant key on the top as well, and it gets the job done. It is rubber coated on the inside, but you can really clamp this thing down, and then when you stick the selfie stick to it, it's really on there tight. So much better clamping force. The next problem I had to solve for, which you may not have these problems because the handlebars where I'm clamping this to are plastic coated, and I'll put pictures in there. But what I was doing, because I had so much force on there, is I started to scratch the handlebars, and I didn't want to do that. So I solved for that by putting some handlebar tape around the handlebars so that this kind of grips onto that handlebar tape. And now this thing doesn't move. When I clamp this thing down, A, I'm not ruining the handlebars, but B, that tape creates a better gripping force, and this thing just doesn't move. but there was still a lot of weight, and the stick would bounce. Insta360 came out with the Action Selfie Stick, and this one here is made of all carbon fiber. So it's really lightweight, it's really strong, and it doesn't put as much force on the clamp, and it just doesn't bounce around as much, which it still bounces because you're, depending on how far you have the stick out there, you're still going to get vibration in it, but it doesn't bounce as much, and you're not putting all that force onto the clamp and onto the handlebars. Now, one tip is this thing will extend out and it gets smaller as it extends, to try to keep the whipping effect from happening, or this vibration effect from happening. I'll never put it out to the end. I always keep this where it's only out this far, or maybe only out this far. And that seems to be far enough to get a really good shot. It's a lot more rigid as well, and it doesn't bounce around as much. These won't bend, but they do vibrate. So the more that you can use the thicker part of the stick than the thinner part, the less vibration you're going to have. And so this works really well. And so that's what I use. The way I like to shoot is that I have this kind of level out towards the nose of the bike. And then as I kind of stick that out, I get just a better shot. I only have to go typically as far as the front of the tire. So I put this kind of in the middle of the handlebars, and then I only have it out towards the nose of the tire, or the front edge of the tire. And that way, if you want to get those kind of top-down tire view shots, you can do that. You can get a good shot of you riding as well, and then everything behind you. Or if you want the road, you can get the road as well. Obviously, anything off to the left or right, you can get as well. So to me, this is the camera to buy for sure. And if you're only going to buy one thing, this would be it. I hope in the next versions of this thing that they go to more of an 8K sensor like they do with the Ace Pro. And then as you reframe it, you're going to get true 4K out of it. With a 1-inch sensor, I think that would be amazing. And the quality would probably be really good. Also, the low light performance would be good. So I think that would be the dream camera, is to have the best of both worlds, where you're getting a 360 camera in really high resolution at a higher frame rate as well. And plus the Ace Pro, I think, has all this AI stuff for denoising, and this obviously doesn't. To put that technology in something like that, I think this would be the camera to get. Okay, so I rambled on far enough. So if you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate you giving me a like. And if you have questions, please give me a comment down below. I'll get back to anybody who replies. And thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.